The opening scene features a young guy, Park Young-ho, who lives with his mother and his sister, Chan-mi. They have recently relocated from a rural village to Seoul. The siblings are now looking forward to attending their new school from tomorrow. Young-ho goes to an all-boys institution, while Chan-mi goes to an all-girls school. On his way to school, Young-ho comes across a bully gang led by a student, Yang Ki-tae, who are assaulting their innocent classmate, Jin-soo. They even confiscate his pocket money, which was for his textbooks. Despite witnessing this, Young-ho opts not to intervene, as he doesn't want to get into trouble on his very first day. Later, at school, Ki-tae and his gang approach Jin-soo once more and ask if he reported the earlier incident to the school authorities. When the latter says no, Ki-tae warns the whole class from speaking against them. As all of this is going on, Young-ho stares at Ki-tae without any fear on his face. Annoyed, the gang leader warns him to behave if he wants to stay alive. After the gang departs, Jin-soo suggests Young-ho stay away from Ki-tae. The two then get to talking and realize that they're actually old friends from elementary school. Later, Young-ho is walking back home when he notices a boxing training center. Intrigued, he makes his way inside, where he meets the owner, who is also a boxing coach. He expresses his interest in boxing, so the coach asks him to fill out a form and start the training starting tomorrow. However, Young-ho wants to start right away, due to which the coach assigns him with a basic exercise with the ropes. At night, Young-ho is worried as his sister hasn't come home yet. He calls her to ask about her whereabouts, but she dismisses his concern and continues enjoying her time with her new boyfriend in a club. Annoyed, Young-ho decides to go out in search of her. As he walks down the streets, he comes across Ki-tae and his gang, relaxing with their girlfriends. Ki-tae invites him to join them and asks for his name. When Young-ho introduces himself, Ki-tae immediately recognizes him as his childhood friend. The gang leader then asks him about his parents, to which Young-ho replies that his father killed himself after going bankrupt. Despite this tragic news, the bully gang begins to make fun of him, prompting him to feel uncomfortable and walk away. A short while later, Young-ho spots his sister with her boyfriend and brings her home immediately. The following day, after school, Young-ho invites Jin-soo to his place to help him study mathematics. However, they find it boring and decide to take a noodle break, the best kind of break. While eating, Jin-soo asks for the reason why he wants to study math so badly, to which Young-ho replies that it was his father's wish, so even though it's dorky as balls, he can't not do it. On the other hand, Ki-tae and his gang are seen enjoying themselves at a karaoke bar, straight rippin' hoobastank. But their joyful time is soon interrupted by a group of senior students led by a bald guy, Chun-gil. Scared, the Ki-tae and his friends immediately back out as they don't want any trouble. The next day at school, Ki-tae's gang members bully Jin-soo once again, but as they are about to confiscate his money, Young-ho steps in and asks them to leave. The bullies then proceed to assault Young-ho, but our boy manages to beat them up until Ki-tae intervenes. He issues one last warning, instructing Young-ho not to interfere with his business, or else he'll make this place a hell for him. After the gang departs, Young-ho is approached by another student, Sang-woon, who praises his bravery. He claims that this is the first time someone has ever stood up against the bullies. Elsewhere, Ki-tae scolds his gang members for the embarrassing defeat. One of his friends suggests that they get back to Young-ho to preserve the honor of his gang. However, Ki-tae stays silent, probably because he doesn't want to act recklessly, and because he's a Willis. After school, Young-ho is walking back home when he's again approached by Sang-woon and his friend Hak-soo. They invite him for a celebratory drink to commend his earlier bravery. After enjoying some time in a restaurant, Young-ho takes them to his gym. While there, he reveals to them that he's actually afraid of Ki-tae because he had always been bullied by him in his childhood. However, Sang-woon and Hak-soo reassure him that he's not weak anymore and that he can definitely deal with Ki-tae. In the next scene, we see Chun-gil beating up Ki-tae's members for their meager collection of money. Ki-tae tries to justify their situation by mentioning that someone had reported their activities to the school authorities. However, Chun-gil does not care and instead subjects him to physical punishment. In the evening, Young-ho is walking back home from school when he stops by his mother's modest restaurant. He peeks inside from the door and sees a guest seducing her. Young-ho is clearly upset, but he decides not to intervene as he had promised his mother not to cause any kind of trouble. Following this, he goes to the boxing center, intending to vent his rage in practice. He requests the coach to allow him to go for sparring and is eventually pitted against a fellow student. However, Young-ho is easily dominated and he ends up losing the fight. After the match, as he is sitting alone, he is approached by his coach. He asks Young-ho not to feel low because his opponent was a national level boxer. Later on, Young-ho is returning home when he comes across his sister who is being assaulted by a guy boy named Jung Ho. Infuriated, he immediately steps in and punches the guy. However, Chen Mi yells at Jung Ho for intervening in her matter. She expresses her annoyance regarding how he's controlling her life, just like their father used to do. The following day, Ki-tai and his group target a rich student to bully and demand money from him. As a result, the innocent boy steals money from his mother's purse and hands it over to the bullies. Meanwhile, Sang-woon and Hak-soo invite Jung Ho to skip the class and have a few cigarettes in the backyard of the school. During this time, Jung Ho asks them about Jung Ho, whom they recognize as a top bully from another school. Jung Ho then reveals how he punched him last night for assaulting his sister. Sang-woon and Hak-soo are amazed by his bravery and encourage him to keep up the spirit. Keep committing assault, Jung Ho. So cool. After classes, as Jung Ho heads back home, he is approached by Ki-tai's girlfriend, Hai-jin, who offers to walk home together. The latter agrees, but they soon bump into Ki-tai and his gang. Ki-tai is furious to see his girlfriend with Jung Ho, so he calls her out and kisses her in front of everyone. It appears that he did this intentionally to keep Jung Ho away from his lady. Yeah, step off, Jung Ho. One evening, while walking across an alley, Jung Ho is suddenly intercepted by a group of bullies from another school. They immediately launch their attacks on him in order to exact vengeance for what he did to Jung Ho earlier. Jung Ho tries to fight back, but he is overwhelmed by their numbers, causing him to get beaten up. Not long after, Sang-woon and Hak-soo show up at the scene and start beating up the assailants. The three friends then team up against the bullies and manage to fend them off. This incident makes Jung Ho realize that he is not strong enough to face the bullies alone. As a result, he decides to train himself much harder so that he won't need anybody's support for self-defense. From that moment forward, Jung Ho dedicates the majority of his time to rigorous practice at the boxing center. One day, after school, Jung Ho and his three friends are seen enjoying some snacks outside a convenience store. Their moment is abruptly interrupted by Ki-tai and his cohorts. Ki-tai expresses his frustration on Jung Ho, who has been gaining popularity for his bravery against the bullies. Sang-woon tries to argue, but the infuriated Ki-tai throws a drink in his face. Despite this commotion, Jung Ho opts not to fight back and walks away, along with his friends. Later, as they sit at another restaurant, the group discusses the strategies to take down the bully gang. However, Jung Ho doesn't seem to be interested in all of this, prompting him to leave. On his way back home, he is once again approached by Hai-jin, who invites him to go for a meal together. Despite his reluctance, she somehow manages to persuade him into accompanying her. Following this, the two of them enjoy some delicious street food before walking home together. Before they part ways, Hai-jin surprises Jung Ho by holding his hand and kisses him on his lips. When questioned as to why she did so, Hai-jin claims that she has started liking him. However, Jung Ho doesn't pay much attention to her words and simply walks away. He's too cool for friggin' anything. He passes by his mother's shop and notices her being harassed by the same unruly customer. Jung Ho is unable to tolerate this any longer, so he waits for the customer to walk out. He then follows him to a deserted alley and beats him up, rendering him unconscious. Jung Ho is not so young anymore. The following day, Sang-woon and Hak-soo impulsively confront Ki-tai's bully gang on the school grounds. Soon after, a fight breaks out between the two parties, resulting in chaos. In the meantime, Ki-tai is on a phone call with Hai-jin, who wants to end the relationship with him. He tries his best to console her, but she remains resolute in her decision and hangs up the call abruptly. Ki-tai, who is already upset by his breakup, gets even more furious to hear the commotion unfolding around him. As a result, he vents all of his anger on Sang-woon and Hak-soo, beating them up until they get badly injured. In the aftermath of this incident, Jung Ho approaches his friends and finds numerous bruises on their faces. They recount the entire matter to him and ask why he isn't taking any action against Ki-tai. They even inquire if he's scared, but Jung Ho remains silent. Elsewhere, Jin-soo is once more surrounded by Ki-tai and his gang in a deserted street. They start harassing him just because he is Jung Ho's friend. They beat him up so badly that he ends up in the hospital. When Jung Ho, Sang-woon, and Hak-soo learn of this, they immediately rush to the hospital to see their friend. Despite being severely injured, Jin-soo smiles and assures them that he'll recover soon. Now, Jung Ho's anger has reached its limit, so he decides to end this cycle of violence once and for all. Following this, Jung Ho, accompanied by Sang-woon and Hak-soo, confronts the bully group on the school grounds. He challenges them to a fight, which Ki-tai promptly accepts. Soon after, a fierce battle ensues between the two parties. Jung Ho engages in a one-on-one duel with Ki-tai, while Sang-woon and Hak-soo face the other gang members, apparently having already recovered from those bad injuries. After fighting with all of their might, Jung Ho and his friends eventually gain the upper hand and defeat them. The news of the bully gang being defeated spreads all over the school. As soon as it reaches Chung Gil's ears, he gathers up his gang and heads in search of Young Ho. When Jin-Soo learns of this, he hurriedly runs to his friends and warns them about the imminent threat. However, our heroes are no longer afraid. They are ready to face all the bullies who disturb their peaceful lives. The movie ends with the four friends walking fearlessly down the middle of the road. Let's hope that Chung Gil doesn't have guns. Subscribe for more videos.